Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the July 16th, 2019 full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn. Well, anyway, people, first thing off is when we talk about, lunar eclipse in general, remember that this is basically an intensified, amplified version of a regular full moon. This can bring about very important, significant endings, culminations, completions. It could be a time where you let out a lot of very strong, powerful, uninhibited, unrestrained emotional energy. Given that this is Capricorn, it could be very, I say, very sad. It's a lot of you could say, where a Capricorn energy is very melancholy, very despondent. It could be very, very like energy when it comes out, letting others know very strongly how something has made you very strongly despondent, or making you feel very sad or dejected, something that might have been going on for a rather protracted or prolonged period. And it could be over in very serious emotions, of course, given that this is Capricorn energy. Now, this is also something where when you're looking at this could also be not just about endings or completions or strong culminations of something. Sometimes when you're looking at, this energy, it could also be about a strong unveiling or revelation. This is something that might have also very life-altering, powerful effect on somebody. Now, of course, this could affect everybody collectively, but especially people that have the sun, moon, or ascendant in Cancer or Capricorn. Capricorn, of course, because it's going to be in their sign. And Cancer, of course, because simply that Cancer could be affected strongly by all transits and phases of the moon, because the moon does govern their sign. I think a lot of this could be attributed as to why the zodiac sign Cancer can be so fickle, moody, and temperamental. Now, the thing about this too is when we're looking at something like this, a lunar eclipse, eclipses can be often about departures of people that were very prominent in our lives. Now, this could be something, given that we're talking about the full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn. The moon, it could be somebody, a prominent Capricorn female. It could be a Capricorn sun, moon, or ascendant person, or simply one that embodies Capricorn characteristics, or somebody, a prominent female authority figure or family member that might have a Capricorn sun, moon, or ascendant, or embodies those traits. It could be a business woman that maybe you had done some kind of business with for a prolonged period, and it could be somebody on that level that departs your life at this time. Also, too, you're looking at this, or even a family, being the moon could be a prominent Capricorn family member as well. But the thing about this, too, is that when you look at this, or even a significant other that was a Capricorn, especially if this falls in like what I call like a really strong relationship house. The seventh house is about our relationships, a significant other, marriage partner, or even the fifth house, because that's about love, romance. Eighth house is, of course, intimate sexual relationships. So especially if it falls in one of those houses, and of course you're going to have fairly close conjunction to Pluto, it could be very transforming really for you as well at this time. And also this could be something too when we look at this, is that when you're talking about full moon lunar eclipses, or eclipse in astrology, I see them as something that could often, because they're so significant, these are things that could even be serendipitous. It could be something that actually starts out as something adverse or negative for you, but could ultimately just wind up leading to something positive. Now, let's say, for example, somebody they have this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn, and let's say it falls in the third house of communications, or even the 11th house. The 11th house I see as being like the internet, computer, but third house is communications in general. So let's say it falls in one of these houses, And you find out there's some, I mean, you got Pluto involved. Maybe there's some kind of malicious virus that's finally unveiled at this time, or that you have on your computer, and it's something, well, it might be something that could be very significant, given that it is taking place during this time of the lunar eclipse. Not so much because the virus might have been uncovered or unveiled, because this is a lunar eclipse. This is not just a basic full moon, but because of maybe what it could actually ultimately lead to. Like, for example, you could bring it in, say, to a computer repairman, and you might even be giving some insight as to what could be done to troubleshoot it, and maybe it leads to some kind of troubleshooting position at some point, or inspires you to do some kind of repair work with computers, or the person you're speaking to is actually is really awestruck by what you're doing and what you're saying to them, and it leads to some kind of position. So it really, these are things. Full moon lunar eclipses can be about very powerful endings, but remember, people, that when it's not all necessarily gloom and doom, I understand it is in the despondent and melancholy sign of Capricorn, very inhibiting sign. It's in its detriment being in Capricorn, but it also, when you have full moon, endings can really signify beginnings at times. When a chapter closes or comes to a completion or culmination, it could ultimately lead to some kind of beginning. Now, going as far as this goes, again, a lot being in Capricorn, this could be the end of some kind of responsibility at this time. It could be to some, I mean, if you have it, say, in the 4th house, it could be to some debilitated or sickly family member. Maybe you had taken care of for a prolonged time and it comes to an end. This could be the end of something that was very regimented, something that had to do with some kind of authority or something very limiting or inhibiting. It could be something, maybe say it's in the 9th house, an end of some kind of overly orthodox or conventional philosophy, and again with the conjunction to Pluto, a transformation in the process as well. And also too, something that might have been overly like a negative outlook, or being overly cynical or pessimistic. Now, the fact that this could also, and it could be something that you showed a lot of discipline and a long period of time, and maybe after all this discipline, that's where all this restraint you had shown, you finally let out very serious emotion at this time, as far as this goes. And also too, now, this could also, in a lot of cases, be the end of a Capricorn-like career, and especially if this falls what I call one of the job or money houses. If it falls especially in the 2nd, 6th, or 10th house in one's natal chart, it could be the end of some period with accounting, or doing some kind of business position, some government, political work, carpentry, computer programming, working as some kind of like a business contractor, something even with information technology, politics, working as a landlord, or some management positions. Anything where somebody was in some position of authority might come to an end or a completion or culmination at this time. And the thing about this too is, now, again, I mean, when you're talking about full moon lunar eclipses, they could be about very strong, powerful revelations. It could be something that might have been hidden or concealed for some time. Remember, you got the conjunction with Pluto, and Pluto can be about secrets, and this could be about some secrets that are finally let out of the bag, so to speak. It could be also something about, in some cases, this could be about a very a self-revelation. It could be something about what might have actually inhibited you or restricted you, and it might have been self-sabotage. And it's something where you might become more cognizant of a limitation in your life, and it's time where you make this life-altering change and go in a different direction and work through that, what was inhibiting you. Could something even nuclear be unveiled or revealed? I mean, you're talking about Pluto being making the conjunction again to this full moon in Capricorn. Capricorn energy can be about the government, and you're talking about Pluto is connected with things that are nuclear. It would not surprise me if something like that were to happen. But again, Going back to the general unveilings and revelations, it could also be about some kind of depression in some cases. Say if this falls in the 12th house in one's natal chart, it could be something connected with maybe like a depressing type mental illness, something connected with depression, that maybe it's a self-discovery, or maybe you're willing to actually come out and say something aloud about it. Now, also too, hold on a moment, people. This could be a time too where one could really become very exceptionally tired, full, and exasperated at somebody, overly cold or callous or undemonstrative, person that might have been inhibiting you or restricting you in some way, shape, or form. It could have been somebody maybe that was just about ruthless ambitions and they didn't care about you. They were more letting their own interests take such strong precedence over yours, and for whatever reason you put up with it for a certain amount of time, and maybe now is the time where you just had enough and become full, so to speak. And also, and maybe somebody that was overly self-serving, self-protective, because Capricorn energy can be about that. And really, too, and I got before talking about the departure of a prominent woman in one's life. I go over again. It could be a Capricorn Sun, Moon, or Ascendant person, or one that embodies Capricorn characteristics. Now, the thing about this is, so another thing to look at, of course, it's important to look at the house this falls in one's natal chart. Is this, of course, could impact the delineation. Now, mine is going to fall in my 9th house in my natal chart. I find this really intriguing because this could be the time where perhaps the ending, maybe I make a decision, there's an ending of some inhibiting or pessimistic philosophy at this time, and maybe the completion of something that I worked with a lot of consistency, a lot of relentless effort, worked laboriously on a publishing matter comes to an end that I worked with a lot of consistent effort, a lot of laborious effort, and maybe it leads to something very powerful or something life-altering. Something becomes noticed, and it might lead to some kind of life-altering experience for me at this time, considering we are talking about the lunar eclipse. If this was just an actual full moon, it could just be, like I stated before, it could just be a basic ending of something that I just described, but not with the powerful maybe effects that could actually happen as a result of it. So anyway, another thing is that it's also important to look, of course, at the aspects this makes to points in your natal chart, as this could also impact the delineation and interpretation. Now, mine is going to make a fairly close trine aspect to my natal Taurus ascendant. So this could be very auspicious and positive for having that latent stored energy to finish something that I might have worked on with a lot of laborious, consistent effort, perhaps to be published at this time, because it is going to be in the 9th house of publishing. So those are some things to look at as far as I go. And you could also apply this if you have a similar chart to mine, and also understand that you have to look at your own aspects, of course, and understand that when this makes an aspect to a point in your chart, that could be very significant. So anyway, well, as far as Sabian symbols go, this is going to fall at 24 degrees Capricorn. So the way this could manifest, this could be something which could come to an end that required a lot of persistent and extensive assimilation of knowledge, and something where you showed proficiency, being proficient with the use of the hands, such as auto or refrigeration mechanics, or let's say, or or working on air conditioners. Let's say it falls in the 9th house in one's chart. This could be a higher education thing that was completed with examples I just described, and it could signify actually the ending of that higher education course, but could lead to actual career in what I just described as far as those potential job positions go. So another thing too is, again, going back to the electional aspects, it's going to make a conjunction to Pluto. I think this is very important. I think this could also, again, it could be something, I'm not saying nuclear war, but I think maybe a new nuclear weapon might be revealed or unveiled at this time by the government, by the U.S. government, perhaps. It could also be the end for many people of some kind of emotional manipulation that had gone on relentlessly and was something that was very consistent. And it might be where one had dealt with a partner that was seen as very cold, undemonstrative, or callous even. Now, the thing about this too, I find interesting as well, is that when you look at these things, the aspects at this time, when you look at electional aspects, they are going to be intensified at this time and amplified because it's going to take place at the time of this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn. Now, what's going to happen, I find interesting, is that you're going to have at this time as well, you're going to have Venus conjunct the North Node in Cancer. Now, and you're also going to have, you're going to have the South Node close proximity conjunction to Saturn. You're going to have a lot of people, I think, when looking, let's go to the South Node and Saturn first. Well, South Node is close to Saturn. It could indicate perhaps ready, or at least people ready to get away from their career, from a position, from people in authority, from somebody that might have been overly, it could be very authoritative person in some position of authority, somebody that was over them maybe in a career-related matter. It could be all, and then when you have the North Node in Cancer, making a conjunction to Venus in Cancer, well, this could be tied into the future and moving toward love in one's life, unequivocal love. This is about Cancer energy. Could it be a time maybe where love is on the horizon for many Cancers, and it will be Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant people like myself, Sun in Cancer? Maybe this is going to be something that's going to bode well for me at this time. That maybe that true love will actually be in my future, and maybe in a lot of Cancer's future, for the ones, of course, that are not attached, is what I'm saying. So obviously, and also, and it could also be where the future might lie for more people than ever in matters with the home. If some kind of there needs to be a partition made on the home, or money money. Well, Venus could be about spending money on, and Venus and Cancer spending money on Cancerian related items, and of course, conjunction to the North Node, the future could be tied into that. One could be directed toward that, such as maybe doing some remodeling, renovation on a home, buying a new home, perhaps adding a partition to one's home, maybe doing something in terms of having maybe doing something where there's actual more love toward one's family at this time as well. So I think it's very important, of course, to look at these things because, of course, they could be very intensified. And also, too, what I want to talk about, I talked about this on the early insights video I did about this lunar eclipse, but NBA superstar LeBron James, he's going to have this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn make an inconjunct aspect. I believe it's from his 8th house, or it's at least very close to his 8th house. You have to check and verify that, though, people. Make an inconjunct aspect to his Gemini ascendant. So when you're talking about inconjuncts in astrology, they could be, of course, about adjustments. And with Pluto not far behind, it could be about a transformation period for LeBron James. This could be a time where LeBron becomes more cognizant, perhaps a very strong self-revelation, that his role with the Lakers being in Capricorn, this lunar eclipse being in Capricorn, might be a little bit more limiting, more inhibiting, where he don't have to be, Mr. Gemini rising, don't have to express all that versatility and ubiquity and having to do so much and do so many different things for the team, which, of course, the energy, of course, readily expressed naturally, given that we're talking about Gemini rising and outwardly and strongly outwardly expressed. So those are some things to look at as far as this goes. at this time. So those are definitely, I think this is very, I mean, could be a very powerful, I think, transit for many people, because you have that transforming energy with Capricorn. Now, some people might want to, I mean, with Pluto, some people might wonder, well, is that the fact that Pluto is going to be right by that full moon, could it bode death more? Is there a greater propensity for that? Well, it could be a little bit. I think it just really gives more. Mainly, what this will do is it's going to give more power, I think, to this full moon energy, and a more transforming type of energy at this time. And I think really that's what's the main thing to look at, is in contrast to actual deaths. Full moons in general can often be about figurative endings anyway, and the Pluto connected with it can really just be really something where I think, again, it just gives a lot of power to it. And it could be where people have actually become more tired, full, exasperated. Maybe it's somebody or something that had some power or control over them. And I think a lot of times this could, Pluto also, remember, is very obsessive or fixated energy. It could be at this time where it might be some kind of stalkers might be revealed to some people, or maybe some kind of obsessive or fixated or even compulsive behavior either comes to light, connected with the person, his or herself, or maybe somebody that they may have known that was prominent in their life. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for my take on the July 16, 2019 full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn. And stay tuned next time, where I will be continuing my monthly horoscope segments. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.